In this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact order we use when painting a room or a house and why it matters. I'll also show you a simple trick we use to avoid the most common and costly color illusion. Hi, my name is Remy Boudreau, licensed painter, color consultant, owner of Expressions Painting, and founder of Expressions Painting University. These are the 5 steps we go through when painting basically most any project. First, repairs. Second, ceilings. Third, baseboards and frames. 4, walls. 5, doors. Now first, let me kind of explain a little bit the logic as to why these are done in that particular order. First of all, I mean, repairs, that's pretty obvious. That's done first. And in the example that I'll be using along these video series, I've actually painted my home office just last week. And as you can see, there's some holes on the ceilings. There's some nail holes a little bit everywhere on the walls. And there's some need for some caulking. So those, like the holes on the ceilings, are definitely not typical. But in this video series, I'll actually show you how I am repairing those. But the most common will be like your drywall repair, the caulking. That's kind of like the typical. But the reason obviously why we do this first is because that tends to, leave drywall bits and pieces on the floors, which tends to be a bit of a mess. So that's why after we do the repairs, then we sweep the whole floors and the top of the baseboards before then laying down our drop sheets in preparation for the ceilings. Now in the room that I'm actually painting, I've emptied the whole room because I knew I was going to be videotaping in that room. But typically there's going to be some furniture that the clients pull in the middle of the room, so we would obviously put some plastic on that, and that would typically be done even before we start the repairs, just to be 100% sure there's no little drywall pieces that fly on the furniture or whatnot. So basically, once the repairs are done and we've swept everything, that's when we lay down the drop sheets and we work on the ceilings. And as you'll see, we actually overlap onto the walls. So if you're a DIY, this is a very common mistake that we see where instead of trying to do the perfect straight lines on the ceilings, start with doing the ceilings before the walls. That way you can overlap onto the walls. Same idea with the baseboards and the frames. As we go through, we overlap a little bit onto the walls without worrying too much about the straight lines at this point. Now, you'll notice that we're not doing the doors just yet. And the biggest reason for that is because we want to minimize the impact on our clients' homes while we're going through the process of repainting their house. And typically doors have literally nothing in their way because obviously you need to use the door. So we focus on finishing the rooms, the walls, all that stuff so that the clients can put things back in place faster. So if we imagine, let's say like a typical open concept project, like if we do all the common areas in the house, typically the first day will be the repair, and then we'll do the ceilings, and then we'll be able to do the baseboards and the frames, and then the majority of the walls are going to get done on the second day. And then at the end, when so on the second day, at the end of the day, that's when clients can start putting things back, because in theory all the walls are done at that point, assuming it fits within that time frame. But most jobs we organize it that way. And then on the final day, that's when we take off the hardware and focus more on the door. So that final day, it's very minimal in terms of the impact on their life, because everything is back in place and it's more pleasant. But here is the key thing that I wanted to show about the color illusion that is so common and it's so costly. And this is primarily amplified when the color is going from a color of the rainbow, like any color of the rainbow, blue, green, red, those things, to like a neutral color, which we are seeing quite a bit of right now. So the biggest thing is we will typically roll out the first coat of the color first before even cutting in. And so if you're a professional painter out there, you've probably heard you have to cut first and then roll second, which absolutely makes sense, but this only applies on the final coat. on the first coat. The reason why we roll out first is to get rid of the previous color that's on the walls, because that can impact the way that the homeowner will interpret the wall that is partially done in their space. So if you look here, in the office I painted, I only this image here is only me spot priming the repairs that I did with the wall color. But notice how it has a bit of an orangey beige tint to it, whereas in reality this is a pure gray color. But because there's so much blue still present on that wall, it impacts the way that we interpret that color, which I'll actually do a whole video just on this color illusion because it's so powerful. But for now, I'm just going to show you a few examples just so that you can understand that if the old color is still there, it really impacts how you interpret the color. So notice here, that was just a spot prime. Now I'm painting the first coat of the entire wall, and look at the difference between what we were interpreting as the wall color when it was just a tiny spot on the wall, still seeing the blue around it, compared to now where it's just rolled out. So now notice that the cutting in is still not done here, but that doesn't matter because the majority of the blue is gone, which then removes that illusion that is created in our mind when we're observing that color. So that's kind of one of the benefit too of, you know, overlapping the ceiling onto the walls and overlapping the trims onto the wall. It kind of fills in a little bit of that wall color, and so that when you roll out, it gives a much truer representation of what you're getting. So if you imagine at the end of the first day, this is typically what we aim to do, is to have all the ceilings and the baseboards and frames done, and then roll out the walls without worrying about the cutting in at this point, so that when the clients walk into their home after our first day in their home, they already have a feel for where this is going, right? They can already see how brighter the trims and the ceilings are because they're white, but they can also see the impact of the new color they pick for their space. Whereas in a lot of cases, I can tell you, if you're a professional painter, you've probably went through this. You have maybe an hour at the end of the day and you have time to start cutting in. And so you just do a little bit of the brush work without doing the walls, but then you get the client to come home at the, when they're done work or whatnot, and they look at the color and it doesn't look how they're expecting it to turn out. And then you get the phone calls. Hey, is there an issue with the color? I thought we picked a gray. This is more of a goldish color. I thought we picked a gray. This is more of a beigey color. And so here, take a look at these pictures here. This was a job we did a few months ago, and it was such a drastic impact of just seeing the cutting in, because keep in mind, we had painted the entire house with this color, and that particular color in the images that I'm showing you is called Agreeable Gray, SW7029 from Sherwin-Williams. But look at how drastic that cutting in looks next to the blue versus next to the green. Okay? And I assure you, this has nothing to do with the lighting, because both bedrooms were in the back of the house, illuminated by the exact same natural light coming in from the outside, and both lights in that bedroom with identical same light in the middle of the room. And it was myself that took the pictures with the same camera. That color illusion was so drastic that I went to take the clients to come and have a look, just so that they can appreciate how big of an illusion can be created when you're not aware of how much the existing wall color that will eventually not be there once it's all painted, but while it's still there, it completely interferes with the correct way of interpreting that color, or how it will actually turn out when it's all said and done. So in the next videos, I'm going to be breaking down these steps a lot more thoroughly so that you can see the exact process we use, the exact tools, the exact products. So if you don't already subscribe or follow us, please do share this video to your friends who you think might find value in that. And I will see you again next week for repairs.